if you are trying to see your website in different devices like tablet, mobile, or desktop. So media queries play a better role, and another one is units. So picking correct units is also important for your websites to get optimized and to have some cleanable, scalable code as well. So this is also important in responsive design. And also the other thing is that layouts. So what kind of layouts you pick for responsive design? This is also important thing in responsive design. Now talk about the maintainable and scalable code. So the maintainable code means you have to structure your HTML and CSS like someone can read it. Someone can easily pick up the code and understood everything. So this has to be clean and readable, like naming your classes, structuring the CSS entire one. So I will be taking through the most important part, which is maintainable and scalable code. And yeah, and the other thing is web performance. So in this section, your website should have less HTTPS requests in order to optimize and render too quick. So this is important in web performance. So these are the three important pillars for our web development if you are talking about the front end side. Now move on to the next slide. So, so first slide I have shown you that how CSS works behind the scenes. Okay, if I'm going fast, you can just call me as well. I can go slowly. So, okay, let me take you to the this entire diagram. So at the beginning, whenever you try to visit a website, so I will not be going from the beginning what a DNS server does and how your HTTP requests get converted and all stuff that is huge and yeah, it took a lot of time. That's why I left that part and started just from this HTML and CSS only because that is a huge part. So let's talk about the HTML loading. So whenever you visit a website or your browser, just get the request from the server, your HTML get loaded. Okay, so whatever you have written in HTML, it will get loaded, and thereafter there is a phase called parsing phase where your code gets parsed. So what does it mean by parse? So the relatively that load means you are loading your HTML file. Okay, but what is parse? So in the parsing phase, your whatever you have left something for writing like tags, if you left slash or classes or double quotations, it doesn't matter because browsers knows that you have written in the HTML format because you have specified in the top that it is a document type file and it is HTML. Okay, so that's why your browser will understood everything. If you let something slashes or classes, maybe classes quotations, it will understand everything. Okay, so now while parsing HTML, there is a CSS file. We usually keep our CSS file if you are using internal, external, or inline CSS. So it will also get parsed as well at the during that phase. So when your HTML get parsed, if you are using external file, so your the request of link which is coming from other file will also get loaded. So that will go to the second part, which is CSS passing phase. Okay. So now there is a box before that, which is document object model. You probably know about that. That is just related to the JavaScript. We can play dynamically with the website as well. Okay. So this is the other part, but let's focus on CSS passing phase. So this is one of the most important part. Okay. So in the CSS parsing is hello. Is there any question or just I got a noise?
No, sir.
No question.
Okay. So during the CSS passing phase, it's quite different from your HTML passing phase because in HTML you just try to because you don't have to repeat your codes a lot actually, but in the CSS passing phase is quite different as compared to your HTML passing. Okay, in what is going happening in the HTML passing is that you are just taking whatever you left and your browser trying to understand what is whatever given. Okay, but in the not in the case of CSS passing phase because there are a lot of confliction going on. So we will talk about briefly on these two parts like resolve conflicting CSS and process final CSS value. So as I said, after the completion of parsing phase done, the CSS object model gets created, which is called as a render tree. So your whatever the code is rendered will be in the tree structure, and then your website will be rendered like I have shown in the diagram. So this what happens when your browsers gets loaded with the HTML and CSS files. So now let's talk about briefly on CSS parsing phase. So CSS parsing, what is CSS parsing? So it is similar like, but just a difference. Okay. So resolve conflicting CSS declarations. So you must have been using a style sheet for CSS. Like, so it also defines that process of combination different style sheet and resolving conflicts between different CSS rules. So what happens is that whenever your CSS gets loaded, there are many style sheets that you have declared in specific classes or IDs. So there are a lot of confliction going on. So whom to render first, whom to show first. So these are a lot of things I will be explaining you in the coding as well. So don't worry about this. I'm just taking through the slides. And the other thing is cascade. So cascade does mean that confliction. Okay. So what confliction? Cascade all it relatively means everything. Okay, it's just a meaning of confliction between two style sheet whatever. So so as I written here that author agent, user agent, and browser agent. So what are these? So if you talk about the author agent, so author agent is nothing but a developer who is developing the website from the scratch. So he will have the authority of changing everything in the CSS. Another one is user agent. So user agent also has the ability to change something from your browser settings. So browser has provided many options for the user, and the other one is browser agent. So these agents are by default when you use something not declared for the CSS. So this is a like CSS passing phase. So cascade means confliction between two classes. Like if you have two classes with the same name, same color, so or different color, so which one will get rendered as first? So this is conflicting phase. Now let's talk about the importance, specificity, and source order. So these are the one of the most important factors while you are trying to understand the CSS. So as I shown here, there are many declaration out here, like user important declaration, which is imposed by the user when user wants to change the browser font size. So this will get to place. And other one is the author agent that we have declared for some reasons because our code is not working at all. Maybe that's why use the important and other one is user declarations. User has also can change their theme like light, black, dark one. Also author has ability. And other one is the default browser declarations. So these are the mostly important. Okay. So importance means if you are declared the CSS. Okay. So the part is going to take place when your website you render or when your HTML code get loaded. So whenever your skeleton get loaded, the painting of that skeleton goes through this process. Okay. So whatever you have mentioned with the important keyword will get most importance. That means you whatever if you have used color and you have put it important in that property, then the color gets implemented at the first except others. Okay. And the other one is so the specificity part I have just written here, that is just the whom get first priority to render things. Okay. So as I've written here that inline styles, IDs, classes, and attributes and elements. Okay. So the first thing that we have three style sheets. First is inline CS style, and second is internal, third one is external. So inline will get one of the most importance, and the other one is internal, and then the last one is the external. So these are the three parameters. So each one of them has their own specificity. Okay, so ID will have less specificity as compared to inline styles. If you have declared something in the inline styles, then the ID will not get the importance. If you have declared IDs and the classes will not get importance. So this is like just a priority based. Okay, and the other one is source order. Okay, however you kept your code from the beginning, the last declaration code will override all other declaration will be applied. Okay, means whatever you put in the end, that will get applied, except others. So these are about the important specificity source order. Now, this is one of the most important parts. So if you are picking up correct units, so these things you should know at least, that how do you pick your units, because units are very important if you're talking about the responsive design, okay, and your web performance as well, and scalable code as well. So declared value, what does it mean by declared value? When sometimes developer tries to put some values like pixels, rems, ems, points, whatever, or maybe percentage. So these are called as a declared value, which is declared by the author. Okay. And what does it mean by cascade value? Okay. Actually the browser, what it does, whatever you have put in pixel or maybe rem or whatever, so it takes finally in the cascade value. So it will calculate the value, okay, in the cascade phase. Okay, cascade phase means if you are using the rem units, then it will get converted to the pixel one. Okay, so this is cascading. It also means that confliction as well. Okay, and the specified value will be rendered and competitors will be same, and which is a user value. Okay, so sometimes developer forgot to put the value in there. In that case, the browser will provide value, which is initial value, which is not going to be a 2 pixel whatever, just 0 pixels. Nothing will be more than 0. So these are the things that is processed while CSS value are given. So also inheritance plays a vital role in the CSS. So as I as I told you that uh, every CSS must have a cascade value. So they have shown here as well. So like if you see that, as I told you, confliction goes beyond our expectation. So like if you have specified value, then it is going to be your cascaded value. Cascaded means confliction value. If you don't have provided anything, so that CSS property, either it is getting from the your parent one, or the otherwise your browser will provide it with the 0 initials. It will not provide more than one. Okay. So these things get inherited. If you haven't provided for your children, then your grandparent or maybe your parent will be override it your CSS as well. So this is called as the inheritance in CSS. So if you forgot to put anything for any properties, like if you're using a h1 tag and you forgot to put a font size, then automatically initial value get provided by the browser too. So this happens a lot. And if you're using the for parent one, the parent font size will get to the children's as well. So this is a visual formatting model. So it's nothing like that. It's an algorithm that will determine your boxes. So you should know that what is box type, inline block, or maybe content box, border box. So these are the things that comes in the place when you are trying the visual formatting model takes place. So these are things like positioning scheme. So positioning is also important. Stacking context, viewport, dimension, images. So for visual formatting model, this also get calculated whenever your HTML and CSS are resolved by conflicting. And then the last part will be the your visual formatting model. So these are the things that takes place. So last not the least, but this is CSS architecture. I just shown you in the first slide that you should write your code scalable and maintainable. So that's why I have just added this PPT, just one slide, that is block element modifier. So as I told you that specificity has their own importance. Okay, so that's why I have added this one. So just a block is a standalone component, as I written here as well. So what does it mean by BEM technique? Why do most developers prefer these techniques? So it is because of specificity that we want to render at the beginning. If you try to visit I can give you example of Apple website. Okay, if you visit their website, their first thing which will be loaded is their navbar. Okay, and the rest of the part, then after that it will get loaded. So they are trying to render the navbar first, then other content as well. So they just use the block element modifier technique. So which is nothing but your parent one is having some class, your children also has the class of your parent. So it's just like using reiterating the classes. It's so awkward, but you have to use it because it will give more some importance in the BM technique. Yeah, this is all about it. If you have any questions in this slide, so I can take it, and otherwise I could go for coding. Anyone? Okay, if no one has the query, I can just go to the rest part. So, so you probably know about this style sheet. As I told you everything, you just need some understanding, basic, not that much. So as you can see that I have a div, which is a class main div and sub div. So this is grandparent, parent, and there is a children over here. And I have been using the PSPM anchor tag. Okay, and I haven't provided anything in here. You can see that I haven't provided blue color in there. But what is happening, as I told you, there is an agent called browser agent. Is that so? So browser agent will apply the CSS if author forgot to put it. So see, you can see that there is a blue color on this. So you can change it by overriding the CSS. So it is not that much difficult. But this is browser agent. So the what is user agent? So sometimes you have also accessibility to change your font size when your content is not visible. Okay, or maybe it's not that much brightness, or you can pick up the themes as well. So these are the user agent, and what's author agent as well. We put CS in here. Okay, so now let's uncomment these. Okay, so as you can see that it gets color of dark green. Why it is dark green? Why it is not yellow? Why it is not pink? Can anyone answer this question? Anyone? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So we provide a color for the particular anchor tag,
Sorry.
and it having we provide a color for the anchor tag. That's why it's get dark green.
Anchor tag. So why it
Yeah,
doesn't go with the first one and the other one? Why it goes with the last one?
I think maybe it starts from bottom, right?
Yeah, it starts from bottom, but I used it. Okay, that's good. But if I what if I keep this class, and if I put it in the end, what happens? Nothing. It will not change. So that's why I told you in the slides that there is an importance. Where is that? Okay, here you go. So this is important specificity, as I mentioned earlier, that your inline styles get an IDs and classes and pseudo classes. So as you can see in this case, I have three classes, 1, 2, 3. Therefore, the specificity goes 3. Okay, and in this case, the specificity is 2. Okay, that specificity is 2, specificity is 1, and this is 1 only. So the whom will get most importance will be the 3, because it is having 3 classes from the its grandparent, and that parent will got children. So this will get rendered first, as I told you. Okay, if there is nothing CSS confliction going on, like if you forgot to just put it in this one, then the rest will be get implemented. So see,
Yes, sir.
okay, now you can see that as you
Yes, sir.
as you told that the last one will win, because as I also use the yellow one here, but it also has the specificity which is two classes. I'm using two classes from the parent and grandparent. Okay, so that's why it's getting the yellow color, not the pink one. So this is very important while designing the websites. Okay, now you get the yellow color because I have used the specificity. So when you are trying to design a website, you should think about structuring the HTML and the CSS too. Okay, so also I have told you that. So let's comment these. Okay, it turns out to be red. Why it is red? Because I have specified, I have imposed one style sheet on the anchor tag which is red. So the color is going to be red. It will forget everything because the important keyword will have most priority as I shown in here. So it will have most priority as compared to others like inline, IDs, classes, whatever, or source declaration. Okay, so this will get most importance. So this is very important. So if I comment this one again and just comment this too. Okay. So it turns out to be a golden rod. So why it is not to be the rest one like main div, subdiv, anchor, and these all things. So what is that? As I've shown in here, that inline styles would have most importance other as compared to the others one. Not the important. The important will have first and then inline, then IDs, then classes. So rest will go there. So that's why I have used inline style. So there is nothing. You can see that there are three classes, but still it is applying the golden rod. Okay. So this is like the override of the CSS tool. So this is called as a confliction phase actually. So which is shown in this as well. So you can see that resolve a conflicting CSS declaration. Whatever you have declared, that will be conflicted behind the scenes. You will not get to know about that. If you have some understanding of that, that is very good because you will always structure your CSS and your HTML too. So this is quite interesting. And the process values. I won't use anything here. Okay. So I think I have forgot to put a CSS unit here. So if you don't worry. So there are many CSS in it. You all must know that, and you also know. And mostly developer uses pixels. Okay. So if you know about a little bit of units, then there are different types like relative units and absolute units. Okay. So what is the mean? What does it mean by absolute unit and relative units? So the absolute unit is nothing but whatever you put it for your parent, and if you put it for your children. Okay. So suppose that you have kept 20 pixel for your parent and 30 pixel for your children. So at each time you have used it for a specific device like tablet or maybe desktop. Then if you are going for the smaller one, then you have to reduce your pixel size. Yes. So that's why you have to go for your children too. So in that case, the relative units are most useful actually. So it does something very great actually. So it does whenever you put something for your grand or your parent one. Okay, let's suppose parent you have put it font size 2 rem. Okay, and you forgot just used RAM for your children, 3 RAMs or whatever. So this is just root elements. So basically there are two important sections actually. The RAMs and AIMs. Okay, these are both are relative units. So these are both relative units. So let's say I have used an anchor tag and I have provided the font size of 1 rem. Okay, And as you know that the HTML default font size is 16 pixel. Yeah. So we can change that too. It's not that we cannot change. We can change it, but if you're using the absolute unit, then for each responsive design, you will have to change your font size. So that's why it is called as the absolute unit. It doesn't has something relation from the parent one. It will get the width and size and padding as well, but doesn't get relation with the font size. But these are not cases with the rems and ems. So let's say you have put it something for your HTML root font size. Okay. So if you have put it something for your HTML, let's say we have 16 pixels. So let's say 16 pixel. We can consider, doesn't matter, because we can think about one rem is equals to 16 pixel because we want to just get the code reduced. So that's why we used at the beginning. You can use anything. So I use the 10 pixel as I have considered one rem because 16 pixel is you divide with the one rem that is going to be point something. uh, so so you don't go along with that because there are many style sheets, so you have to calculate for all css if you want to convert that into rem. So that's why I just picked up that one rem is my one rem is equals to my 10 pixels. So I'm not thinking about the 16 pixels, I'm thinking about the one rem, that is 10 pixels. So what I have to do, I have used for, just let's say that I have used for my mobile first view. Okay. And I want to grow it for my desktop one, then what I will do, I will just change my HTML font size. That's it. Okay, you don't have to change for your fonts, parent one or children one. Okay, at the beginning you have put it something from for them, then you wouldn't have to put it for responsive as well. Okay, so you just have to change your HTML font size. That's it. So the name also states that relative, which means relate to their parent or their font size of the root, which is HTML. So whatever you have put in, just you have to just increment, decrement the font size of the root element, then your rest of the code get uh, changed. And there is another thing as I wrote here, ems. So what is mean by ems? So the rem units are the relative of root element, which is HTML. Okay, what does it mean by m? So it's not that hard. Just the m units refer to their parent one, not for the or maybe siblings one. So there are, you know, that sibling. There are many CSS classes like sibling or whatever declarations. So like these ems refers to the rem units. So whatever you put in the rem, that will get preferred. So if you just increase the font size of your rem units, then your m also get increased. Okay. So the padding and the margin will also get added into that as well. So this is about the rem and m units. So while picking up for responsive design, from my perspective, I would suggest you for go with for rem and m units for responsive design. Don't go for absolute units because you'll have to change entire thing for responsive design if you're preferring for mini devices like tablet or smartphone desktop. So this is quite difficult and this will get a lot of code and you'll have to go through it each time. So this will affect your scalability and maintainability as well. So I will almost prefer, actually I also prefer that RAM and M units. So you should think about it, and you can also read on Wikipedia as well, or maybe internet. So these are very important for responsive design. So okay, the last one is so what happens, sometimes user has the accessibility to change their font size. Okay, so let's say I have declared that my HTML or my web page has the HTML font size of 10 pixels. Okay, and my user has the accessibility, he can change my font size too. So what happens if when the user tries to change their font size, it is in the percentages, not in the pixels. Okay, so this affects our code. Okay, so a lot of confliction goes behind this in, like we saw in the CSS declarations. So same things goes with that, because we have specified by user has imposed something. Okay, what is that? So user important declaration has import something. This is called an important, that we have declared something, but user will have the most importance because he imposed our CSS that it should use instead of 10 pixel, it should use 16 pixel because the content is not visible to the user. That's why he imposed the font size. So for that conditions, we usually used our width, height, padding, margin as looking at our root font size, which is 10 pixels. we haven't think about the 16 pixels. Okay, so there are many cases developers forgot to do this, and a lot of time your website gets conflicted and override. So a lot of confusion goes behind this, and it also cause your rendering, affect your rendering as well. So in that case, you will have to use percentages. Why percentages? Not why not the pixel? As I told you, that user has the accessibility to change by the percentages. Okay. So if we declare what you have to do, you have to just let's say we have used 10%. Sorry, 10 pixel. We have converted this into one rem, and we'll have to just which is 16 pixels. So it is, I think, around maybe 62%, maybe whatever, I don't know. But you have to just convert these units into the percentages. So the whenever user tries to change their font size, the percentages will increase, not your uh, the units. So these are very much important, and I think I forgot one section which is responsive design. Like which one to target first, for the mobile first or the desktop first. So it is up to you. You should go with the mobile first or the desktop first. So what are the pros and cons for those two things? Like there are many multiple mobile devices that we are using right now. So they are also having their own resolutions. Okay, so their width and height is quite different from each other. So that's why the population is going on for the mobile desktop. So the populated area of mobile devices. So that's why I prefer mobile first, because there are many users, and the other thing is that we can keep our code from the beginning, and we can think about expanding our font size, means expanding our code. So I always prefer mobile first, and then I go for the desktop uh, responsive design. So I start from the mobile, and then the last one is going to be the desktop. So this is all about it. And yeah, if you have any questions on that, so you can ask me. Yeah, I assume that everyone has understood. That's why I'm not getting any questions. Or just it goes beyond your mind. Hello, Damodar. Is there any questions? Varsha, how many there?
No, sir. No question.
No, sir.
Okay. Any other Prajakta, Skoel, Harshada, Vishal?
No, sir.
Okay. We are going to implement it. Huh? At that time, he is only going to review it. Okay. Okay.
Oh, actually, one thing is remaining. I haven't shown you the slide of block element modifier technique. So how do we structure our HTML? So I'll just show you the code directly rather than typing it. So this is also remaining, but this is huge stuff with the images that you know that which one is to pick, and there are other ways that I haven't touched is that responsive design. So which one to use, like max width, min width. So you can see in this case, this is falls under the block element modifier technique. So as you can see that for the parent one, I have used the main class, and I have also iterated for the children too. Okay. So what I'm doing, I'm just trying to get things will have more importance whenever the website gets rendered, whenever your page gets loaded. So this will also have the most importance, and that also get rendered as well. So this is nothing but some block element modifier technique. So we can just include the from the parent to the till the children or grandchildren. So we can increase their specificity because the website is quite large and the content is nested very much. If you are using for multiple large website, and your code has must be a nested one. So that's why in this case you'll have to pick up by just naming the conventions like using the block element modifier techniques. So this is a BM technique, and just I can maybe okay. Yeah, if you see that in the beginning that the one who get renders, you can if you see closely, the first one which is navbar, this gets loaded and then the rest pages will get loaded. So this is important and they used it. I can also show you. So it's done. So you can see that the div class has the AC class and they are iterated over and again until their content get closed. Like you can see that in the LIs they used it. So these are things for the nervous sections. So whenever the web page is loaded, you first see your this one part and the rest of the one. So this is and the computed one. So as I added the class slide for computed. So these whatever your units are get converted at the final stage will be in the pixel, not in the range. Okay. So this is going to be happen at the end. So I assume that you should use that in the RAM units. Thereafter, that browser will convert that into the pixel units. Yeah, I think that's the thing I left it. Okay, sir. Okay, if time allow us, we can also take one section. Let's cover entire one like CSS will be done then. So let me take you through that as well. Okay, there you go. So this is just a slide, so you don't have to worry. This is large, and I use SAS for it. So we can also schedule another session for SAS. So how can we use SAS and get code optimized? So from the beginning, I use everyone use max width, min width. So, okay. So I prefer these devices with these resolutions like 0 to 600 pixel for mobile, tablet method, and tablet landscape. Normal styles with my apply in the between the 1200 and 800 and big desktop as well. So why I have shown in this is that just to let you know that okay, don't worry about the mixing, dixing, and the variables. Just think about the max widths. Okay. Okay. So desktop, it does mean that we have 100 pixels, 1000 pixels, and the tablet means we have 800 pixels. Okay. We are just passing the variables. If you are familiar with the JavaScript, then this is quite easier for you. And the phone is for I think 600 pixels. So as I shown in the slides that the last one get most source order that will be get rendered as well at the last stage, whatever it is. Okay. So let's think about that. You have used the font size and or maybe padding or maybe width. Okay. And let's say you have put it width for 600 pixels, it is going to be 200 pixels. And for the desktop one, it is going to be 800, and for the tablet one, it's going to be 600 pixels. Okay. So you can see that I have put it desktop first, then tablet, then a tablet, and then phone. why didn't I go with the phone first? Okay. So what happens if I just revert these changes to the, like, I can show you that too. So if I put it like this is using actually max weight. So you must use, I think you know that max weight, it is taking the weight from its till the last point, which is nothing but max weight is nothing but that from the 0 to 800 pixels. We'll have the accessibility to whatever you put in the style sheet or declaration. And same case goes with the 1000 pixels, like from 0 to 1000 and 0 to 600. So it does mean max width till the point of 600 pixels. And the min width is nothing but beyond that. If you put in min width, then beyond 600 pixels, we get access to those style sheet which is applied for these media queries. Okay. So now in this case, I just reverted tablet one or desktop one. So as I told you that we have a width which has 200, 400 and 600 or maybe 800. So what happens when you tries to go with this formatted, so your smaller screen should also has to go at the end, because if you are using 200 pixels, okay, 200 pixels, you know that this code also matches the thing that this tablet also has 600 pixel max width. So from the 600 to 0 to 600, 200 pixels also got matched, and for this as well, for this as well, because it also has the accessibility till 1000 pixels. So rest of the code, the second two will not get rendered, and this will get applied. As you know that the source order depends upon the last element that you have put it. So these get rendered as compared to the others. Okay. And so that's why I always prefer that your larger screen media queries will get at the top, and then the others which will have less pixels, and then the last one which will have small pixels will get the importance. So this is just prioritizing the media queries in order to render your scalable code. Otherwise, it will conflict, as we have seen in these phases. So this is all about, I think, and we have covered entire one. But one thing is that is the which one is image to pick for responsive design. So I think this